you want to, hold on, let me go ahead and approve that.
My bad.
No, you're good.
Press record.
So you have an idea in your head. This is your business idea, which is also, it's really exciting that all of you guys, a lot of you guys are like in the very beginning stages, it sounds like. So usually when we do these cohorts, everybody's kind of in different seasons in their entrepreneurial journey. And I love working, especially with new entrepreneurs, because there's like a dry sponge just waiting to soak up all the information and ready to just do it. So a lot of you guys have this idea in your head, but you want to communicate it to customers, to potential customers, in a way that they hear it, they fall in love with it, and they're willing to throw their money at you, right? That's like the idea, is to sell your services. My name is Sean Tambagahan. I'm what we call the chief figure outer at Butler Branding. This company I started 10 years ago, had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that we wanted to do creative work. We wanted to serve our community, and we determined to figure it out along the way. So I always tell people that I'm building the runway as I'm landing the plane. And I've been doing that for about 10 years, and it still feels like we're a startup. So our kind of value proposition, right? If we were to summarize what we do in a sentence, we help brands communicate the right message to the right people on the right channels. And the way we do that is through strategy, design, and marketing. Now, that statement, that's something that all of you guys need to learn how to do. Is like, what you know what your product is, but how do you communicate the right message to the right people and on the right channels? Like, so you don't feel like you're just screaming into the air, nobody cares and nobody's listening. So how do you do that? You do that through strategy, design, and marketing. Our core services, I won't go into detail in that, but basically strategy, identity, web design. We have a photo video studio, and then we do content marketing and digital marketing. This is my team of talented people who are much smarter than I, who help fulfill all the promises that I make to my clients. So basically, I promise the world and the sun, moon, and stars to clients, and these creative geniuses help me pull this off. And so most of these guys are creatives. So we have 2 graphic designers, 2 web developers, video photography, digital marketing director, and then I have some administrative help. And that's what makes up Butler Branding. We've been blessed to do what we do for 10 years. And in that 10 years, we've had the privilege of doing complete brand identity for nearly 100 brands. And we've worked with several hundred in other capacities. And so really honored to do what we do, not only in our community, but also just around the world. We're on a mission to 1 million. So even though we've done brand identity for about 100 brands and then a few hundred that we serve, we're on a mission to serve 1 million brands. We want 1 million brands to feel proud of their branding. I treat you guys as being part of this class as one of those brands. Like, hopefully you guys are able to create a brand that you're proud of. And so we're on a mission to help 1 million brands be proud of their branding. The way we do that is through all of these different services. I'm not going to get into too much detail on any of these, but we have web hosting solutions, print material. We have a photo video studio. We now launched a small business marketing solution, because typically we're like enterprise level content marketing. Now we have an option for small to medium-sized businesses. Digital marketing, and then this thing that I'm really excited about called Butler University, which includes courses, training material. We give talks, and we have a YouTube channel where we now just hit 1 million views, 20,000 subscribers. And so it's just like really insane what God's been able to do through our business in the last 10 years. All right, so that's enough about us. I want to hear about you guys. Again, we're talking about getting the message right. And I'm going to ask you guys this question, and expect you guys to give me at least a few answers to work with, so I know what will be helpful for you. So I'm going to ask the 3 questions, and then anybody can kind of speak up and just give me your thoughts. So what do you hope to get out of this? What's a challenge you're needing help to overcome in your business? And what's one question you'd like answered? All right. And so you don't have to answer all 3 of them. If any of you have like something that just popped up into your mind as I asked one of those 3 questions, go ahead and let me know right now. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it open to you guys.
I'll go ahead, go.
So a challenge, I would say, is just time for now for me, especially with bookkeeping and accounting. I feel like that's my least, my area that's the area that's least attentive to, or um, worked on. So I think that's a challenge with me. And then what I hope I get out of today, just to have a better, or at least more techniques or more skills to go ahead and accomplish that goal of getting my bookkeeping and accounting done. And if that's hiring somebody to do that, or have designated time. So I think that's pretty much it. Just those two first questions there.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Anybody else?
Yeah, so for myself at the moment, I'm actually going through a rebranding stage phase. And so I'm actually going from a sole prop into an LLC. So before filing that process paperwork, I'm actually reconsidering rebranding the name of my company. And so a question that I
What's the
have
name of it
is,
right now?
so the current name of it is Little Shed, and it's spelled Litl, so little and then just shed. And so the backstory for that name is it actually started in this little shed that I'm in right now during the pandemic, where I was able to reach out to nonprofits and help them grow. So I'm actually just trying to rebrand and trying to make it a little bit more tailored to the message, which is bridging the gap between data and in regards to nonprofit. So rebranding the name, but I'm having questions and challenges on what I have the name in mind, but some of the challenges is, do I need to add like another descriptor of the name, or do I just keep it simple? And so that's where I'm at right now.
It's a great question. Miguel, before I continue, I just want to point you to a resource. There's a really good book. I have a training strategy framework that I do with some of my clients, but it's all based off of the book called Don't Call It That. Don't Call It That. And it's a book on brand naming. And the guy who wrote it has an agency that all they do is brand naming, and his agency is called 100 Monkeys. And so so like it depends on what kind of brand you're looking for, but it's a great resource. You can read it in a day. It gives you a good framework to figure out how to name your brand. But I think Little Shed Consulting, that's kind of a cool name. And if you have a good story behind it, especially if you're bridging the gap for nonprofits between data and what else? Data and the operations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So just kind of something to think through, right? So one of the parts of messaging, and this is part of like this training that we're talking about, is identifying the problem. What is our proposed solution? And what is the end result that we're taking people to, right? This is how someone comes up with an elevator pitch. And ideally, if you can paint the picture of what the end result is and the beginning stage is, like through a story, that's awesome. And so when people are like Little Shed Consulting, right? What is that? Well, I started out of a little shed in my backyard. And what I found out is when I worked with a lot of these nonprofit organizations, they just are grassroots and they start the same way. And they come to a point in time to where they have to grow past the little shed, and accounting and data and all of this stuff, part of their operations, is one of those things that's helping them get to the next level. And so we're Little Shed Consulting because we help those organizations that started just like we did. Boom, there's your story. And then it ties right into to the name. So anyway, don't let that influence, I can't have you unhear, but I'm just saying, I think as long as the point is if you can have a story behind it, right? So like with Butler branding, we started, in fact, if you let me go back here. I don't know if you can see it so this, I had a local artist help me do this illustration. I don't see, you see that Butler holding a serving tray? That is our old logo used to be a butler, like an actual butler holding a tray. And so I had him do like this thing that represents the history of Butler. And the everybody asked, why Butler branding? What does that mean? And because my last name is Tambagahan. It's like people think I'm Sean Butler. It's not my name. No, we wanted to be the epitome of service to our clients. We wanted to have a high level of white glove servitude to our clients, like a butler. And so we called ourselves Butler Web and Design, but then that was very limiting in our name because we were just doing websites and design. And so as we started adding photo and video and copywriting and content marketing, we're like, man, is there something else that we can do that's a little bit more general so it doesn't bottleneck us to one service? And we believe that branding is the all-encompassing thing. Like everything we'll do is always going to be about the brand, the gut feeling that people have, public perception. So we changed our name from Butler Web and Design to Butler Branding, right? And that was the reason why. So there should be some sort of reason to change your name. Okay, good. So I answered your question real quick. Mark, I'm not going to forget about your question. We'll get to that one more towards the end. Let me see. I see some things here in the chat. Okay, yes, Carlos, $4.99. There you go. I saved you some money there. Any other thoughts? What you guys are hoping to get, or any particular questions? And I might not answer it like right away, like I just did with Miguel. But any other questions or challenges you guys are needing to overcome?
Yeah, my quick question is, I feel like I know 100 people in Fresno who are photographers. And so how do you make yourself distinct in a market that is so oversaturated? And my second question is wondering if you do website consulting or, yeah, I just created my website. I'm pretty proud of it, but I think it would be cool to have a second pair of eyes look at it. So
Totally. Yes.
what I would ask.
All right. I will definitely address those in this talk. So how do I stand out in a saturated market, and then website consulting? Awesome. I'm taking notes. All right. Anybody else?
For me, it's just the how to get started financially. You know, in agriculture, a lot of things are really expensive. Well, everywhere, but to get started in ag, it's just some of the stuff is just outrageously expensive. That's what kind of held me back so long. Because if I had the capability just out of my personal funding, I would do it. But if there was a opportunity, or if there's places where I could get some type of funding, that would really help me get those wheels turning a little faster.
Yeah, totally. Good. How do I get started with no capital? Got it. All right, last call. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. I'll skip this. I'll skip this too. So a lot of this stuff is going to be just stuff that I have as a standard presentation. Okay, one of the things that I like to do in strategy, by the way, if you guys are going through, if you're consulting with yourself, that's kind of like a bad thing, right? You want to get outside people in. That's why you guys are in this class. And the idea is you're coming together with all of these thoughts and all these kind of jumbled ideas, and outside help and counsel can help you make clarity of those thoughts. And the goal would be you guys are all speaking the same language, especially if you have business partners or people that you're taking along with you. And so what we do is we go through a process of discovery before developing a strategy, and then discovery helps us build that strategy. And so I'm going to skip through all of this. All right. I'm going to help you guys answer this question. So what's difficult about writing messaging for your brand? And this is a hypothetical question because I'm going to help you answer it. So just think about this, like, what's hard about communicating what it is I do to the people I'm trying to serve? One of the things is this thing called the curse of knowledge. All right. So you guys have to be aware of this when thinking about brand messaging for your brand. So here's what the curse of knowledge is. So just imagine that there's a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10. All right. 0 means I know absolutely nothing about fresh produce or about the nonprofit data world. That I know nothing. 10 is like everything there is to possibly know about your field. All right, most of you guys are kind of subject matter experts, right? Photography or whatever it might be. You guys know your field really well. Your users, your audience, the people that you're talking to know very little. They might not know nothing, but maybe they're at a level 1. All right, so the curse of knowledge is where you know too much about what you do to be able to communicate it in a way that people can understand. right? So your audience's capacity to understand might be at a level 1 or 2. Your understanding, it might be at a 9 or a 10. But what most brands do is they speak at like a level 4 or 5. All right, that you're speaking over people's heads about things that they don't really care about. So the goal in writing brand messaging is get it super, super simple and talk in very basic terms as if you're talking to someone who is at a level 1 or 2. I always tell people, talk to me as if if you're explaining what you do to your mom, or as if I'm like a 4th grader. All right, so this is the curse of knowledge. The other challenging part about writing messaging for your brand is that a lot of people don't know what your brand is, what a brand in general is. And so like, just kind of, what are some of the things that come to your mind when I ask you guys, what is a brand? What is a quick definition that you might give? Miguel, I'll pick on you.
Yeah, I'd say a logo that's very easy to say, oh, that's who I know, or a service I can just distinguish off of.
Gotcha. So something that's recognizable. Okay. Hannah, what do you think? What is a brand?
I just instantly thought of Nike.
Nike. You know what? That's what everybody has this in their mind. And I put, this is not a brand. Now, here's the thing. Nike is a brand. Nike for sure is a brand, but this swoosh that comes to people's mind, this is just a shape. This is a shape. This is a logo, right? Your logo is not your brand. All right. The brand is people's gut feeling when they see this logo, or when they hear the word Nike, or when they see the pair of shoes. It's the gut feeling. So you guys have, this is super important in branding, is that your brand is public perception about your company, about your service. In fact, now we're living in the age of personal branding, to where you guys all have a personal brand. Every company has a brand. They're either intentional or they're not. If they're not intentional with their branding, people are going to come to whatever conclusion they have about you. All right. So they might think, oh, they're not a serious company. They're not legitimate, or, oh, that's cheap service, or, oh, that looks very expensive. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the social experiment where Payless did a pop-up shop in the mall, and they got rid of all the Payless branding, and it was this luxury brand called Palessi, and and they sold Payless shoes for like 10 times more expensive than what you could get at Payless, because of the branding, because of the gut feeling that people have when they look at a certain design style, or when you have certain packaging or certain messaging. So all of that kind of stuff influences your brand. It's your social media presence, it's your website, it's the content you're putting out, it's your images, it's your logo. All of that stuff communicates a message. All right. So you have to remember that your logo is not your brand. Your messaging is not your brand. It's all of it. It's all of the things that you use to influence people's perception about your company. So you kind of have to think about that. All right. Now, to really simplify it, and this is going to be super important for all of you guys who are just kind of getting your businesses off the ground, I give people a 3-step process to get your business launched. 3 steps. First is defining your business model. All right. And what does that mean? That means figure out what the product or service is that you're delivering to what audience. All right. So who was it Vicente that you said fresh produce for restaurants, right? That's great. And then you said, but I also kind of have like flowers, and then like, so, okay, well, hold on. Like, before we get too much, what is the product and or service, and who is the audience? The more diluted you get with your products and services, and the more diluted you get with your audiences, the more difficult it's going to be for people to know what to think about your branding. Right. And so you can definitely add things later on, and you could add things as you grow. And for sure, most brands do that, right? As they start to grow, they start to buy other companies, or they start to add divisions and departments and products and services. But when you start, you kind of want to get started with a niche, with like a particular product and service for a particular type of audience. So that's defining your business model, right? Your product market fit. That's number one. The second thing is, now that you've defined your business model, you want to position your brand. And that's kind of what we're talking about tonight, is positioning your brand. So now that you have a business, meaning you're already selling this stuff, Vicente. You're already, Hannah, you're already doing photography services. You're trading a service for money. You've done that. You got kind of proof of concept already, but now you need to position your brand. And that is at least three things: naming your brand. Like, what are we calling this thing? It could be just, Hannah Photography. But you got to come up with a name around it. Brand identity, which includes your logo, but it goes beyond just that. It's like all of your visuals, right? If you look at someone's Instagram feed, it's not, you don't care about the little logo that's the avatar on their profile. Like that helps you remember. But when you look at their feed, you're looking for consistency, especially with photography. Like, what is the style of photography? We hire photographers all the time. And when we do that, we're looking for a particular type of style. And so if I'm showing someone's Instagram feed and they're a photographer and they have like 20 different styles, I don't know what to make of it. I'm probably going to go to the one person who's like really good at headshots for females, or, fill in the blank, brand shots for product photography, or whatever it might be. And so it's brand naming, it's brand identity, which includes your logo and your visuals, and then brand messaging. All right. So what are we calling it? What are we going to look like? And what words are we going to use to explain what it is we do, why people should care, and why they should buy my product or service? All right. So naming, brand identity, and messaging. Then you're ready to do step 3, which is marketing. All right. People get this mixed up because they're like, hey, I've defined my product market fit, and now I just need help marketing so I can sell this. But they haven't done brand positioning first. That's where companies like me kind of kick them in the pants and say, hey, let's take a step back. You put the cart before the horse. You're not ready to go to market because let's just say you spent $1,000 on Facebook ads to send them to a website that looks like garbage, or that's communicating a messy message. Like, it's all over the place. So we need to have our brand positioning first, then we go to marketing. So that's why getting the message right is super important. And the message is communicated through visuals, through your name, through the actual words that you're using. Now that you're positioned, you're ready to do marketing. All right. Is everybody following me so far? Any questions so far with where we're at? All right. If you guys have your cell phones, I want you to take a picture of this QR code. If you have an iPhone, you should be able to access that at any time if you take a picture of it. If you don't have an iPhone, I don't know how to help you. Maybe take a picture of it with your Android and then have your iPhone friends help you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure Androids work just the same. So this right here is a link to a series of articles that I wrote on how to write good brand messaging. All right. I'm not going to go through all of it right now because it's going to be too much, but this is just a tool, a resource for you guys to use in your own time if you want to kind of do some exercises to write some good brand messaging for yourself. Okay. And this is another resource that I would also point you to. This is a great book on brand messaging, how to tell a story with your brand. And so this is Donald Miller, Building a Story Brand. He's got a lot of free content out there. This book is really cheap and it's fantastic. And the general premise behind his book is that nobody cares how awesome you are as a brand. All they care about is what's in it for them. And so he says that most people fail in their brand messaging because they're trying to position their company, their brand, as the hero of the story. We've been in business for this long. We have this much experience. We are so awesome because we do these great services. Look at when we started. Look at we're the hero of the story. He says people don't care about that. What people want to believe is that they are the hero of the story. Your customers, the people that you're serving, you have to position them as the hero, and you are the guide. You can help the hero achieve their mission, right? That's the whole premise of the book. And he walks through a whole framework, which is 7 parts. I'm not going to go in depth in them, but this is the 7-part framework that Donald Miller goes through in that book. He says, there's a character, right? This is your audience. This is your audience. They have a problem. All right. They meet a guide, which is you. This is your brand. And then the guide gives them a plan. And that plan calls them to action. And that action either results in success or it at least avoids failure. Now, this is the general story arc of every story that's been told for the last 2,000 years. That's why he calls it building a story brand, because every story, whether you're watching Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, The Princess Bride, all of them follow this. There's a main character who faces some sort of a problem. They meet a guide who gives them a plan, calls them to action, which results in their success and avoids failure. All right, so that's what the story brand framework is, and he helps you to come up with that story for your brand. So Miguel, we're talking about nonprofits, like, hey, my story is that, you're positioning them as the guide. When I started in a small shed, just like a lot of the clients that we work with. And when they're doing that, they're just working as hard as they can, but they come to this point where they can't grow because they're hitting this wall of their data complexities. It's like, man, they want to focus on their mission, and they don't want to focus on data, and they don't even know how to use that data, how it correlates to their everyday work. And that's where we come in, and we give them a 3-step plan of how to make sense of their data and how to make actionable decisions in their nonprofit organization, which actually results in them getting more income, more donations, more impactful decisions that they're making for their nonprofit organization, so that they could get out of the little shed and go to the high rise to really serve their clients. All right, so that's a character has a problem. They meet Miguel, who gave them the 3-step guide, calls them to action, which is to schedule a free consultation call to see if we're a good fit. And if we are a good fit, you're going to result in what? In increased donations, smarter decisions, yada, yada, right? You see how this is working? All right, good. This is how you guys are doing the story brand framework. All right, so who wants to be a volunteer that's not Miguel? Because I've already been giving him too much stuff. So let's do this with Vicente. You want to try this? No? Okay. Well, let's go through Hannah, you want to try this?
Sure.
All right. So what kind of company do we have, Hannah? We have a photography.
Mm-hmm.
Photography. Okay, let's get a little bit more specific. What kind of photography? You said brand photography, brand
and lifestyle. Yeah.
and lifestyle. Okay, brand and lifestyle photography. Great, very specific. Who is your audience? Tell me a little bit about them.
Ideal audience is ages 22 to probably 36. Female. That's for the branding aspect. Women
Okay,
owned
well,
businesses.
explain that. So 22 to 36-year-old female brands, like
brands, women owned businesses, artisans, creatives. Any of those words kind of flow in it.
Okay, so 22, this is great. So I do photography. I do brand and lifestyle photography for typically for 22 to 36-year-old female artisans and creatives who, like, what is the problem that they have as it relates to how you can help them? Like, why would they need your photography?
They're having a hard time getting across their image of their brand and having quality pictures for the quality work that they do.
Okay. Right. So they have a hard time getting the quality photography they need to properly position their brand and show their products in their best light. All right, great. What is our solution? So like, so we do high quality photography. Like what makes it high quality? What makes your photos different for branding and lifestyle for these ladies?
I'd say it's different because I'm very hands-on. I'm not just a picture taker. I'm someone who wants to tell their story. So from my questionnaire, the first time they contact me to our phone call, we have a strategic planning call, to the mood board we work on,
Okay, so we are different, and this is not going to be good. So the purpose of these types of things is called a brain dump, right? So it's like super unrefined, just whatever the initial thoughts are, and then you're using these insights later on to develop more thoughtful copy. So we develop a mood board. We're different because we have a process. We don't, and I say we don't, but I know it's you.
I get it.
I don't just take photos,
Mhm.
right? Okay, what is the action you want people to take when they see your content?
I want them to imagine and dream of their business being more than what it is right now. That with good photography, they could sell more products, that they could bring their vision to life, and that I could help them do that.
Okay. And so like, okay, let's just say they see your content, they see your website. What do you want them to do?
I want them to hire me as their photographer.
So, okay, but what is the first step? Like, what is the first
I want
step?
them to contact me, fill out one of my contact page.
Okay, contact me, fill out a form. Okay, gotcha. What will they experience after they work with you? So like, what is that after state? So before, their brand is blah, it's drab, they don't have great photography, it's not positioned in his best light. Now we worked with Hannah, she's got these amazing photos, she's got this process, she's that helps us position our brand. How are they feeling? What is their experience and feeling like after they're working with you?
It's like confetti. They're very happy and excited, joy-filled, confident. Yeah, I'd say those are probably the best
That's
words.
awesome. Okay, now do you guys see how these, what is it, 6 questions? You just ask yourself these 6 questions, how you can write probably a ton of content just by pulling insights from these 6 questions. All of these follow the story brand framework. There is a character who has a problem, right? Who meets a guide who gives them a solution or a plan and calls them to action, which ends up in this result, which ends up to this story. So this is the story brand framework. It took us a whole of 3 minutes to get the insights Hannah needs to develop some content. Okay, now to take it a next step is, Hannah, we're going to define your voice. Like, how do you want to sound in your messaging? Like, what is your posture, your attitude, your tone? It doesn't even have to be words on this this page, but this is to kind of get the creative juices flowing. How do you want to sound in your brand messaging?
I want to sound confident, but also down to earth.
I'm going to put it down to earth. I like that. Confident and down to earth, casual, confident and casual. Okay, perfect. Guys, this, we have direction now. Write a, so now we can hire our content writer in here. We can hire Katie to do some copywriting. Hey, we need a funnel to write in the voice that's confident, casual, down to earth for a brand that is that does brand and lifestyle photography for artisans, female artisans and creatives. And this is, you know, go down the whole list, right? So there you go. If you want to take this to level 10, all right, to like save your time and money and energy and thought process, there's this thing called artificial intelligence. Write a tagline for a lifestyle and brand photography company who serves female artisans who want to position their brands and products in their best light. I don't know, I haven't tried this yet, so we'll see. Write a tagline. Bring your vision to life, professional photography for crafted brands. Boom, there's your tagline. All right, now write a 100-word elevator pitch for a lifestyle brand and photography. Let's go to this. Okay. Let's see what happens here. My name's Hannah. I'm the founder of blank, whatever you name it, lifestyle and brand photography company serving female artisans who want to use their photos to position their brands and products in their best light. We understand the unique needs of female entrepreneurs and know how to capture the essence of their products in a visually appealing way. We have a team of experienced photographers who specialize in creating images that are both beautiful and professional. Whether you need photos of your product, lifestyle photos to showcase your brand, or a combination of the two, we're here to help. We can create the perfect visual story that'll help you stand out from the crowd and capture attention of your target audience. That's not bad for 3 seconds. All right, it gets you 80% there. So guys, so this is Chat GPT. If you haven't used this, it's free. All right, there's this other company that I'm using now called Jasper AI. This has literally replaced a human being, which I feel terrible about, but I can't feel too bad because it's actually really good. And they have, if you use something like this, they have like, hey, I want to create an Instagram post. I want to create an Amazon product. I want to create, I just want I want to improve my content. So you can write it here and it'll fix it up, grammatically correct. I want a blog post. It has all of these different templates that you could do and it'll do it in a half a second. All you have to do is get good at writing the right prompt and having the right strategy framework, coming up with what you're trying to communicate in the voice and tone that you want to communicate it in, right? So like, let's just see what this does when I put here, write a 100-word elevator pitch that is clever, confident, and down to earth for a lifestyle brand. Let's see if that changes it much. Welcome to Flowing Light Photography. Wow, it gave us a brand name. We specialize in lifestyle photo branding, photography for female artisans who want to position their brands in the best light. Our modern and artistic approach brings out the true beauty in your products and showcases them in a unique and stylish way. We take the time to get to know you and your brand so we can create images that accurately reflect your personality. We also provide custom styling and retouching services to ensure the highest quality images and give you the confidence to stand out. Let us help you create beautiful and powerful images that'll showcase your brand and help you stand out from the competition. See, it changes it up a little bit. All right, guys, this is like, I just saved you probably 3 weeks of scratching your head of coming up with your brand messaging. All right, so now that you have, where did it go? This right here. So this QR code goes to teaching you how to do 6 types of brand messaging. There's your tagline, your value proposition, your elevator pitch, your process, your call to action. And then social proof is basically getting other people to talk good about you. And so those are the 6 types of copy you have. Once you have those, you're now positioned to be able to create your website with your brand messaging, and you can put that on all of your marketing materials. Okay, I'm going to stop talking and stop sharing. And hopefully that was helpful for you guys. And I'm going to leave it open for you guys now for any Q&A, and then we could get to some of these specific questions that you had. So I'll leave it open if you guys have any particular questions.
Sean, I just want to apologize. My child was talking to me earlier, and that's why I was distracted.
No worries. I got 3 of those, so I know how that goes.
Yeah.
Well, while you guys are thinking of some particular questions, okay, Hannah, was that helpful for you?
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, so you asked the question earlier, how do I stand out in a saturated market? I am not confident that it is a saturated market. I am confident that there are a million photographers out there. That doesn't make it a saturated market. All right. So just like there are a million branding people out there, quote unquote, branding people, the thing that I wanted to set my brand apart with was my professionalism, my process, and the way we're communicating our brand. So though there are a lot of photographers out there, I don't think there's any photographers that are having that message that we just created and then properly communicating that across all of their branding channels. So having a website that communicates that, having an actual process, And then also the professionalism to where when you say, hey, the call to action is I want you to contact us for a free consultation, and that consultation will see if we're a good fit and you have the right questions to ask them, right? It's not just about the skills of photography. It's about the process that lands, that gets you to where you're going to land. So the short answer of how you stand out in a saturated market is elevate above the market and do things that nobody else is doing. When I was doing branding, nobody had a really robust, thorough strategy, and nobody was doing free education and teaching clients how to do this stuff. And so I said from the beginning, we're going to have like a library of content. We're going to teach this stuff in very simple ways. And so we started creating free content. We started our YouTube channel, which helped us get to where we are today. We started our blog. We started all these things, and then and trying the best we could to serve everybody. And that's how we were able to rise up. And now we're kind of on par with our competition, who's been here for 10 years longer than we have. And we've kind of risen up above some of the people that are kind of still doing really small to mid-sized businesses. And so way to stand out in the saturated market is elevate above what everybody else is doing. So that way you're not in the same market pool as they are. When it comes to website consulting, that is something we do. Again, at Butler Branding, we're more of an enterprise level branding agency. So typically organizations are spending anywhere from $15,000 and above with us for any kind of project. But we started this organization called Brand Launch Go. And this is a small business initiative to help brands launch so they could go to market. And so it's like a fast pace way to get your logo, your brand messaging, and your website launched. And so this is actually a new initiative that we're rolling out this year. And so I think Carlos you have my information, so you can contact me at any point and we could discuss what that might look like. Okay, Mark, you had a challenge with bookkeeping and accounting. Oh, Brand Launch Go is not a good resource. Well, that's fine. That website is going to be updated, but yeah, that's kind of an embarrassing version of that. So I know you guys shared the link of that. It's all going to be updated, but all the basics are there. Okay, Mark, you have a challenge with bookkeeping. Okay, tell me a little bit about that. So you have a pool company, and how many? Like, what's your challenge basically? What are you coming into a hard time with?
Well, for me, right, like I said, I have a full-time job that I work. So I have this full-time job, same industry. I'm a pool maintenance technician for a school district, and then I do it on the side as well. So I think just, handling a 40-hour work week with 30 plus clients weekly on a weekly basis, that time right there, it's I gotta, so I'm saying, like, is there like other techniques out there? I know there's QuickBooks, which I have, which it's even hard for me to just take my phone out, and when I make purchases, I'm using my camera instead of using the software, the QuickBooks app, to take the picture. I'm like, okay, so I gotta get in that habit. And so just little things like that, I guess, to help improve my time efficiency with that, because that's like my least favorite thing to do for now.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, man. I hate numbers. I don't like accounting. I'm terrible at that. I've been really blessed with a wife who is like my complementary opposite. So where I'm kind of scatterbrained and creative and like all over the place, she's very orderly and organized. And so she's our actual CFO. And so I kind of cheated on that one because I lucked out by having a spouse who could be my partner in business. But the principle is the same. Is you either so when you have strengths and weaknesses, you can either try really hard to get better at your weaknesses, or you can delegate your weaknesses to where you can leverage your strengths by delegating your weaknesses. And so for me, delegated that to my wife, who now she's delegating to finally a bookkeeper. We have a CPA, all that kind of stuff. So you kind of have to count the cost of business, of like, okay, man, should I have a bookkeeper? Should I have a CPA? What should I do? But there's also stuff that you just need to do early on. Like, I hated doing a lot of stuff, but I just had to because I didn't have the money to. And so I think it was Vicente, you're asking about like, how do I get started with no capital, right? Like, what happens if Mark wants to hire a bookkeeper? He's like, I don't got no money. It's like, well, you're it. You got to do it. And so, and up until you get enough runway to where you could invest back into your company. So every time I've made $1 in Butler branding, I've invested it back into Butler. So like we've increased in revenue every single year, but I haven't realized that like personally a profit, because every time I get money, I put it back into the company. And that for me looks like hiring people, and investing in technology, things like that. So anyway, long story short is you either have to get better at it to a certain point or delegate. And if you don't have like a spouse who's going to help you in business like that, then you have to hire a bookkeeper or something like that. Vicente, you're asking about what do I do if I have no money? Okay. Is your, like, how much money do you need to start your business?
You know, I would say to get it started on the right path, man, maybe 10,000.
You just looked at the ceiling and saw the number and pulled it down to 10,000. I do the same thing. That's totally, that's funny. So get in. So like when I started Butler, I had very limited resources, right? I didn't have any money. And so I had to moonlight. Like for me, I had to have I had a full-time job and I was building my business on the side with the resources and time that I had, because you don't have the time and resources that you don't have. So you have to start with what you do have. Damon John wrote a book called The Power of Broke. And he said, basically, there's certain lessons that you learn from having no money that if someone just threw you a $10,000 check right now, it wouldn't help you out in the long run as an entrepreneur. And so you kind of have to go through the suck of being broke to learn the business, so that when you do have a little bit of money to hire where your gaps are, you know exactly what you need, right? Because right now, like for example, if you need a bookkeeper, it's like, well, I don't even know how keeping the books would even work, right? So you have to figure out what that looks like by doing it yourself. And then you can build up a little expertise. So now that when you're ready to hire, you know what you're looking for. So if what I would definitely recommend is start with what you have. Don't think like the grand picture, because the big picture is like, man, 10,000 to do all these things. It's like, yeah, but maybe you could start smaller with the time, money, resources, and availability that you have without having to hire a bunch of other people. Like I could start doing this one thing. And if I do this one thing really well for, I don't know, an arbitrary number, a quarter, I'm going to reward myself by hiring someone to delegate this piece of thing that I don't like doing, or to buy this piece of equipment, or to, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then there's also opportunities for small business funding for startups. If you have like a really solid business plan put together, Access Plus Capital, Funding Fresno, Carlos knows about them. Funding Fresno is a good resource, and they give equitable small business funding to startups. And there's a lot of money towards that. You have to pay it back, but you definitely want to have a business plan, because you want to be able to pay back the loan. Because trust me, when you get money, it'll go by like that. And you're like, oh, shoot, I got to pay this thing back. So have a good game plan lined up for that. I think that was all the questions that I wrote down. Before I go, any other questions or last things that you want to know about me, about business, about anything that we've talked about so far?
I would say I have another question. So transitioning, I'm in the process of getting my state contractor's license. And so there's only so much I can invoice at one time. So say if I'm doing a job that's realistically cost over $500, but I can't technically invoice that any more than that because I don't have my contractor's license. So that's one challenge. I mean, I think I can see me having it in the next year, but from now until then, there's business out there that I can get for over $500 jobs, but technically can't invoice it because of our state.
Yeah, so I get it. That's the challenge. So was there a question in that? Because I heard the challenge, but what was a specific question?
Just a challenge, and yeah, I guess no question.
Yeah, I feel your pain, man. That's the state of California. It has its challenges for sure. We definitely have to stay within the guidelines. You don't want, I do ministry. I'm a full-time entrepreneur, full-time minister. And I say, I told my accountant, I said, look, I'm terrible at numbers, but just help me to pay my fair share and no more and keep me out of jail because I don't want to do prison ministry. And so follow the rules is all I'm saying. Whatever the rules are in California, you have to play with them. We don't always like them, but yeah, if you could do $500 stuff, I have a friend who's doing his handyman business and he's the same thing. He doesn't have his contractor's license. And so he's very limited in what he can do, but he's positioning himself as that while he's getting a contractor's license. And so, it can be a slow burn for sure. Awesome. Carlos, I'm going to go ahead and lend it to you. And if there's no further questions, I'll leave you guys be.
Hey, I'm just saying, y'all have Sean here, and he's not going to charge you guys now. He will charge you later. And so if you have a burning question, I will say now's a time to do it. Miguel, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, so aside from that $499.99, Sean, another question, $499.99. But first of all, thank you, Sean. Not to take up much more of the team's time here, but as I mentioned, transitioning over from rebranding, one of the questions that I have is, as I'm in search, I do have a new name, but one of the challenges is in regards to copyright and trademark. When I'm choosing this new name, there are a couple of competitors with similar name, but they have another word within that name. So what would be something to look out for, or something to be aware of when changing a name when it comes to the legal entity side of having to file and not go get a lawsuit later along the road or something like that?
That's a great question. Yeah, so we worked with a lot of brands. So from Butler branding standpoint, we're mostly the creative agency. And so we've done brand naming for some brands, and we're fully transparent with our clients. We are not going to test this against uspto.gov to US Patent and Trademark Office. That's where you would want to go, is uspto.gov. And there is a patent and trademark process that you'd have to kind of follow through and file, which you can do on your own, but it's also very painstaking, which is why if you're wanting to go down that road, a trademark attorney would be good. Okay, when it comes to trademarks on your brand name, you can use the TM. So let's just say Butler branding TM. That's trademark. You don't have to be registered to use that. That is an unofficial claim that I own the right to this trademark. If you want to get that registered with the USPTO, then you have to file the application and they test it against other trademarks that are out there. And then that's when it turns into the R for registered trademark. And so a trademark and patent attorney would be able to help you kind of navigate those waters. One thing that we do is kind of look at what's out there and see what's best that we can find online. When it comes to naming, we want to make sure that it's on brand, that there's not any direct competition that has that name that's obvious that we could find, and also domain name availability. So go to GoDaddy.com and see if there's a domain name that's not going to be 13 words long. You want it to roll off the top of the tongue, butlerbranding.com, brandlaunchgo.com. You don't want it to be Butler Branding Design and Marketing Fresno.com. Nobody's going to know how to do that. So domain availability, no direct competition. Do your best work that you can. And then if you want to take it that next level, then a trademark attorney would be the best bet.
Great. Thank you, Sean. And real quick, just to end my questions here, the domain availability, if a .com or .org or .net are unavailable, when it comes to branding, would a .dev or .io or other of those GTLD extensions be something to try to shift towards, or would it be more?
All of those kind of domain extensions are viable, but you have to do a lot of work to get people into the habit of doing that. The reality is, even though there's .com, .org, .net, .biz, .agency, .everything else, 99% of people are going to put in .com. And so if there's not a .com, I always get kind of leery and I tell my clients like, hey, so part of our brand naming strategy, when we do that for clients, I say, these are the available domains that we can have with this. And so we just did one right now for Hope Horizon. And I don't think it's launched yet. We changed it from Tulare Youth Services Bureau to Hope Horizon, much better name. HopeHorizonMH.com, because they do mental health. And because Hope Horizon wasn't available. So Hope Horizon MH, that's nice and easy to remember. So you got to, for me, I always prefer the .com, especially if it's easy to remember, but all those other ones are viable. You just got to do kind of a lot of work to get people to remember that.
Fantastic. And that is a much better name, I gotta say.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, if there are no other questions or comments, Sean, thanks, man, for just being so generous of your time again. I appreciate your expertise and your friendship in the space, man.
Absolutely, man. It's my pleasure. I love talking with you guys, with entrepreneurs, especially newer entrepreneurs who are getting off the ground. And so if there's any help or direction I could give you, Carlos has my contact information. I'd be more than happy to point you in the right direction. So I appreciate you guys, and I'll leave you to it. You guys have a blessed night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you.